Hey guys, Darkster here with my Guild Wars 2 review. Now, for the people that care, this is actually what I've been doing the past month or so. This is the reason that I've been slow on the channel, coming out with videos and stuff, that I'm a few days behind. I'm basically releasing this because this is what I've been working on. This is actually the second recording that I've made of this review. The first recording I actually made back when I was still leveling. I was still about level 50-ish at that time. The difference between that recording and this one that I'm making now is that I'm actually an 80 player now. I've hit 80, I've did some dungeons, I've experienced level 80 for a little bit, and I feel like I have some things I can add to the overall video that I made the last time, or the recording I made the last time at least. My opinions, at least, from that video are still exactly the same. The only difference is I feel like I can take some stuff out and add some stuff in from this review. I was originally going to talk about like my experiences coming back to Guild Wars and all that, but I want to keep this as short as possible. That being said, it's still going to most likely hit that half-hour mark. So if you guys are watching this, you guys don't have to physically look at the screen. You can kind of just minimize me and listen to me. It should be fine. That being said, there's going to be some footage that correlates to what I'm talking about. So hopefully you guys enjoy the video, and let's get started. We're going to start off the review by talking about the overall story of the game. The way the story is set up in Guild Wars 2 is basically the decisions you make when you create your character. When you first create your character, you get given these random, well not random, but these story choices that you get to pick after you do your customization and all that. Based on those decisions, the game basically creates a story for you. It creates a story for you from basically level 1 up to about level 40, give or take. When you hit level 40, though, you get split off, and you make the decision of basically joining a faction. There are 3 factions in the game. There's the Vigil, the Order of Whispers, and the Priory. Each faction is kind of, they're not working against each other like, say, World of Warcraft is with the Alliance and the Horde. These factions are working together, even though they don't agree with each other and stuff. They overall are working together to basically defeat the dragons. The factions are set up and split up in a way that they kind of have a different way of doing things. Like the Vigil is the militaristic battlers. You know, these guys are the front line when it comes to Guild Wars 2. You know, they kind of push the warriors and the guardians and stuff to go here to the Vigil, because they're all about, you know, the militaristic army kind of guys. The Order of Whispers, these guys are the trickster, freaking infiltration, subterfuge. These guys are Mission Impossible, basically. That's what these guys are. You know, your thieves and stuff kind of want to go here. And most likely, you know, your explorer classes. Those are the guys that are going to kind of want to, that kind of get pushed into this spot. And then you have the Priory, which are like scrolls and intellect and coming up with ideas and stuff and plan. I guess. I don't know. I don't know exactly what the Priory is. It's the only one I haven't done yet. I've done Whispers. I've done Vigil. But yeah, I know Priory does their thing. They write scrolls and shit. I don't know. But the thing is, here's the thing. Even though they kind of pushed, you know, elementals and stuff to join the Priory and all that, the thing is, you can be a guardian that joins the Priory. You can be a warrior that joins the Whispers or something. You know, it's not locked to you. It's just kind of your overall play style kind of decides it. It depends on, like, if you're an aggressive kind of mage or an aggressive elementalist or whatever, it's perfectly fine for you to join the Vigil or something. You know, it's not like you made a huge mistake or something. It's perfectly fine. It's just kind of set up in a way that the profession and playstyle kind of correlate to what you join. The story itself isn't anything amazing, let me just point that out, but it's not bad either. And here's the thing, what I mean by that is that in most MMOs, I have no idea what the story is at all. I'm a World of Warcraft player. I have multiple high-level characters. I have an 85 Paladin, an 88 Rogue, a 90 DK, a 90 Warrior. Ask me what the story is of that game. I can tell you some Wrath the Lich King stuff because I happen to have read the book. The book was really what gave me all the information. Playing the game, I had really no idea what was going on. If you ask me about current content, what the story is in World of Warcraft, I can't tell you. I really can't. I have no idea what's going on. But if you ask me about Guild Wars, ask me what's going on with Guild Wars, ask me what happened with my character, I can actually tell you some stuff. I can actually explain some things about it, you know, and you can actually gain some information when you play this game. You actually have a story, you know, there's actually a story there that's worth seeing. So, I mean, that gives them crazy points for me. That gives them a lot of points. I really enjoyed how they set up the story, and I think a lot of games need to copy and imitate Guild Wars when they do, for the way they do the story in this game. So yeah, let's go on to how the leveling works. Leveling in Guild Wars basically works like most MMOs. They say that Guild Wars 2 doesn't have a traditional leveling system, and that's kind of true. There are some things that are a little different about it, but there are some things that are very similar about it too. What they mean by it doesn't have a traditional leveling system is, for instance, how the levels work. Every level in Guild Wars 2 is actually the same length of time. After, I believe, level 15, I believe up to level 15, you get increasing, you get basically a scaled up version of each level, how it works in most MMOs. You know, level 1 to 2 is naturally a lot quicker than level, say, 89 to 90 in World of Warcraft. Well, in Guild Wars 2, level 1 to 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 up to 15 scale that same way as basically World of Warcraft. But after 15, and I don't know if this is actually confirmed, I've seen people say it was 15, I heard some people say it was 30. I think it's 15 personally from leveling a second character and all that, I think it's 15. But basically after 15 up to 80 in Guild Wars, each level takes the same amount of time, and ArenaNet has confirmed. I'm not sure if ArenaNet has confirmed it, but I've seen forum posts of people repeating what ArenaNet said, so I don't know if this is exact. This might just be something some dude made up. But supposedly, every level is about 1 hour and a half after 15, basically. And it's the same for, say, 15 to 16. It's the same as 79 to 80, you know? What this does is basically, if you go to a lower level area, you're still getting the same amount of experience, and you can scale it differently, so you can play with your friends still. And your friends still get to play with you, but basically you can level down, but you can't level up. Think about it like that, and that's the big appeal. You can go back to old zones and just do them again and again and again, do the events there, and then go back and do your own stuff, and you can go WVW and all that. Experience itself comes in solid batches. It depends how you do it. Instead of normal quests like you do in not in Guild Wars, in World of Warcraft, for instance. In WoW, you go to a quest giver, you take the quest, you go do the quest, you turn it back in. In Guild Wars, you can have these hearts, and you can probably see it on the map when I open it and close it. These hearts are basically where you go to get your first quest. You don't really get the quest, you kind of just show up there, and the heart kind of appears on the side of your quest tracker there, and it kind of tells you what to do. And you go and do it, and once you're done it, that's it. You get your experience. It just kind of goes down to the bottom. You don't actually have to go and turn anything in. The other form of kind of questing is events. Events trigger randomly based on like random number generator, or I guess it's a timer in some cases, and I guess the game kind of knows too. You know, there's a whole bunch of people here, let's start this event up. And basically the event will just appear on your mini-map or your big map. And everyone around that event can basically see it as well, and they can kind of just go to it, and kind of just gathers a bunch of people in the spot to go do an event. The events vary. There's sometimes just a kill event, just go and kill like a boss or something that appears. Sometimes it's like an escort quest, sometimes it's like a defense thing. They vary very heavily, okay? It's very interesting. It's a very different way of doing questing. It's not really bad, to be honest. I actually prefer this over questing in most MMOs. That being said, I still don't like this. And I've basically come to the realization that I personally just don't like leveling. That's what it comes down to. I don't enjoy leveling in any game. Be it Guild Wars or WoW or whatever it may be, I just don't like leveling. That's what it's come down to for me. That being said, if I had one game to pick for, if I had to level in, it would be Guild Wars. Guild Wars was the game I had the most enjoyment out of leveling. Now on to look and feel and just graphics in general, I guess. I was actually going to make feel have its own category altogether and go over, you know, how it feels compared to World of Warcraft and how WoW feels sharper and all that. And it was a big problem I had back when I first started playing Guild Wars, is that because Guild Wars is such a new game, they were able to add a lot of frames of animation. Basically, even something as simple as strafing to your left or right in Guild Wars has almost a startup process. You see your character kind of build momentum and then run forward or run to the left or right. In World of Warcraft, you click left or right, your character just magically turns instantly and is running that way. And you know, it's not fair to really compare the two. I admit I prefer WoW overall and how it feels, simply because it feels very tight, you know? And the thing is, it feels so tight because it's an older game. They weren't able to add all these animations and stuff in. So I can't give Guild Wars a hard time because they put more time and effort in to make it more current gen, you know? I can't take points off for that, you know what I mean? So, all in all, they both feel great in their own way. It was just kind of unfair of me to try and compare the two, and it's just not really comparable when it comes to that. Simply put, Guild Wars feels great. World of Warcraft feels great. I personally prefer how WoW feels. But now, let's talk about the graphics. Do I really even need to talk about it though? I mean, if I'm minimized right now, guys, just unminimize me real quick. Take a look at the screen. I think I can just end it there, right? I mean, it looks pretty fucking magnificent. Simply put, easily the best looking game, or the best looking MMO. I'm sorry, not the best looking game, but the best looking MMO out right now. If not in raw graphic intensity, which people might debate in raw graphic intensity, it might not be the best. I would still debate that it is, but in art style and execution and just the way they set up like a certain rock, you know, and how they have like a dragon just kind of flying off in the distance, you know, and some of the higher levels, you see Zaitan just kind of flying around and shit. He looks fucking awesome. All right, it is a very pretty game. And that's really all there is to it. It is extremely beautiful. If you have a computer that is able to run this on max settings, I highly recommend it. I'm running it on max settings. I get a solid anywhere from 25 to 60 frames on my computer. I'll give you guys the specs real quick. It varies though. The frame rates all vary depending on how many people there are around me, and basically how much of, you know, magic effects and stuff are going off on the screen. In WVW, I get anywhere from 40 frames a second all the way down to like 4 frames a second, or 4 to 6-ish there. And that's when, you know, you have a huge group and then another huge group shows up and just all this stuff happens. There are settings that you can kind of tweak to make this work better, but in general, it's a little crazy, at least in WVW. Now, the computer I'm running this on is fairly mid-range. It has an i7 processor, 8 gigabytes of RAM, a GTX 550, might be 560, really doesn't matter, they're very close, and solid, not solid state hard drive, just a normal hard drive, and I'm able to run it on pretty good settings, you know, max overall. So yeah, if you guys have a better setup, yeah, you're probably gonna be able to run this a lot better. And anything less than that, you can probably run it on, you can probably push it to high, or max settings, or, you know, maybe kind of tweak it to be around medium or whatever. So yeah, that's graphics. Now let me go over the PvE content in the game, and this is basically the dungeons and the fractals, which are basically what I consider the equivalent of raids in Guild Wars 2. Now, the actual content itself, once you get into this dungeon and you actually start doing the dungeon and all that, it is actually a nice experience. It's not the cream of the crop when it comes to PvE content. I consider the cream of the crop to actually be World of Warcraft. They put a lot of time and a lot of effort into their PvE content. I personally don't enjoy it. I don't like PvE, but truth is the worst World of Warcraft PvE content is the best content somewhere else in general, and that's just WoW. You know, they know how to do PvE content. That being said, the content here isn't bad. It's just kind of clusterfucky. The thing is, there's no Trinity system, right? So it's kind of just a free-for-all slash fest. It's pretty much just run at your enemy and use all your abilities. You'll get low very quickly. If someone drops, you know, you res them. If they don't, you kind of expect everyone to use their defensive abilities and fight. As a PvPer, as a general PvPer, I actually prefer this system more than the World of Warcraft system. I feel like I can kind of pay attention less. No, that's not what I mean. I mean, I feel like it's more of a game. You know, I feel more involved in it, where it's like I can dodge and I have to really pay attention to my healing and all that. Whereas in World of Warcraft, I can literally go AFK in some PvE situations, or most PvE situations. If I'm not tanking or healing, I can freeze. I can just white swing the thing and get top DPS. That's just how it feels for me in World of Warcraft. So, I mean, this actually feels like I'm committing and really doing something to the group. That being said, it does feel a little clusterfucky. So the actual content itself, not bad. And if you are a PvEer, there is stuff for you here. It's just, I wouldn't recommend it if you strictly PvE. There are the people, though, that do just only PvE in the game. You know, that they go in and they really like go through and check their buffs and make sure this buff is up and this ability is up and all that. Those guys do exist in the game. It's just mostly PvP. You know, I feel like the real reason to play Guild Wars is for PvP, and you know, it's called Guild Wars for a reason. It's not World of whatever. It's Guild Wars. So, you know, just so you guys know, you're really going to this game for the PvP. Now, let's talk about how you get into PvE though. And here's where the game just falls apart and goes even further into me saying, if you're a PvEer, you don't want to play this game. Simply because getting a group together, there's no dungeon finder in a game that came out in 2012. By the way, this game came out 2012, and still doesn't have a dungeon finder in the year 2013, which I consider to be a sin. You know, this is like when you go down a checklist for MMOs, I feel like dungeon finder is like third on the list, aside from make sure there's different classes, make sure you can level, make sure there's a fucking dungeon finder. You know, like I feel like this is a very crucial piece of product that you're whatever you need in the game. You know, and they still don't have one. They're still releasing the stupid freaking, oh, there's an election right now. Who fucked the election, okay? Go and get a fucking dungeon finder added into this game. Completely, well, not done well at all. Absolutely not. It's like they didn't spend any time thinking about this at all. To the point where people are actually making sites and stuff and to basically make groups. You have to go to Guild Wars to looking for group or whatever to fucking find groups in this game, or message chat for like a half hour. And then you have to get all the way to the freaking dungeon. If you don't know where the dungeon is, you have to walk all the way there. And you're able to get teleported, but you're only able to get teleported if you teleport into the overall area. And if you don't have any points in the overall area and you can't teleport in there, you don't get teleported. Fuck the people in the area. They already know where the dungeon is. They can just teleport directly to the dungeon. Teleport the people that can't get to the area. They're the ones who need to get teleported, not the people in the area. If you're able to get in the area, you're obviously able to get to the dungeon a lot faster than the guy in fucking Lion's Arch having to run across the fucking planet to get to the dungeon. I don't know. I just feel like this was really badly done. And it just goes more to show that Guild Wars 2 is a PvP game. Even though the PvE is good here, it's not bad. It's just not accessible in a convenient way at all. So, you know, just so you guys know, I'm not really happy with it. But anyways, that's it for PvE. Now let's get into the main reason you come to Guild Wars. This is why you play Guild Wars 2. This is the thing that makes you continue to play Guild Wars 2, and this is the reason that I think Guild Wars 2 is one of the best games for this. And that's PvP. This is a PvP game to the core, if you ask me, in my personal opinion. It does have other stuff. It does have jumping puzzles and all that stuff, but at the end of the day, I think what keeps people playing, or what's keeping me playing at least, is the PvP. I was going to split this into two parts, basically making an SPvP kind of talk and then a WVW talk. I'm just going to combine them both into this one part because it's all PvP basically. Now, let's go over SPvP real quick first. Originally, SPvP was a thing I enjoyed the most. I actually thought you get experience from this. By the way, you do not get any experience from doing SPvP. This was a misunderstood thought process I personally had, and I find that a lot of people actually thought this at the start of the game as well. When you do SPvP, you are automatically leveled to level 80, and you get access to everything your character has. You get access to all the weapon sets, all your abilities, all your trait skills, everything. And you're able to reset your traits and add new points and do everything completely free when you're in SPvP. And you go to the best PvP by clicking the two arrows on the side up there. I mean, not the two arrows, the two cross swords up in the top left-hand corner. And you get sent to the Mist. The Mist is the PvP zone. You queue up for... You basically queue up for PvP through here, and you queue up for tournaments and you know, team PvP and all that. But when you do stuff here, you don't get experience, you get glory instead. And glory is basically, I guess, the equivalent of experience, pretty much. It's the ranking system almost. Every few ranks, you basically go up an animal tier. I believe 1 to 5, or might be 1 to 10, something like that, is rabbit, and then there's like, I don't remember the exact order, but there's like rabbit, deer, I believe dragon is the highest, phoenix is just under that, there's like lion somewhere in there, and basically the higher a tier, the more time you spend. Unlike experience in the overall PvE world, though, your glory stays with you throughout, your rank stays with you throughout. So say you have an 80 warrior that does a lot of PvP in SPvP, you do a lot of SPvP, and you're like ranked 7 or whatever, right? Or you have a high rank. Let's just say you're like ranked 40 or whatever. You know, like your glory level 40. Let's just say that, right? And you jump on a level 1 guardian, right? And you jump in SPvP with him. He gets, you know, leveled up all the way and all that in SPvP. And you look at your glory meter. It will also be level 40. It carries through to all your characters on that account. Your glory rank will always be the same, unlike your actual PvE rank or your PvE level, where you'll have your 80 warrior and then your guardian will be level 1. So that's something to know. And this basically how they have this setup where you can get the runes and the sigils and everything right there for free and basically build your characters gives you incredible amounts of control and balance. The thing about Guild Wars 2 is they have PvE and PvP completely split. It is not connected. So changes they do in PvE does not affect PvP. Changes they make in PvP does not affect PvE. And it basically allows ArenaNet to do incredible balancing and tweaking to their game. And their tournament system in Guild Wars 2 in SPVP is extremely well done. Not even one of the best, easily the best. They have a spectator mode right now, and it is absolutely beautiful. It is an amazing spectator mode. You can watch individual characters, you can watch overall map spots, you can jump between either teams. It is amazing. I am so upset that there still isn't enough coverage of this. You know, they do a few tournaments here and there, but I feel like people are just not aware of how awesome the SPVP is in this game. And people that don't play Guild Wars seem to just not know about this. And I feel like people need to get the word out about how awesome SPVP is in this game. If not just awesome, just entertaining to watch, play, and just watch, just be a part of, you know. So SPVP, very well done. I'm very happy with SPVP. If you're a PvPer, you can literally just SPVP your entire life in this game. You don't even have to be 80. You can just make a level 2 character and have fun SPVPing the whole way, you know, your whole time in Guild Wars. Now, the other half of this, the other side, that the other reason basically that I think you would play Guild Wars 2, and the reason you still continue to play Guild Wars 2 is WVW. And for the people that don't know what WVW is, it's basically, to be honest, it's actually WVWVW, but for short, people call it WDW or WVW. And it's basically world versus world versus world. And this is when you team up with your entire server, or whoever enters with your server, and you go into this huge battleground. Hopefully you guys are looking at some footage of that. You go on this huge battleground, and you basically attack castles and keeps and all yaks and freaking guards and shit. And you get control of certain keeps and stuff. And basically all this accumulates into a set amount of points for your server. And it's basically you versus 2 other servers. Every week this number resets, or these the points that you acquired reset. And you get moved up or down in the tier. So it's your server versus all the other servers. And it almost works pretty much like how you imagine a team would in a tournament almost. It's like your team, which is your server, gets ranked up and down, and you know, vice versa. You might get, if you're doing really well, you'll get set up with stronger servers. If you do well again, you'll keep going up and up until you're at the top or the bottom, which is pretty freaking awesome. And you might not understand the scale of WVW in this game. The map itself is quite enormous, and there's 4 of them. That's the thing. It's a huge, enormous map, and there's 4 of them. 3 of the maps are exact duplicates of the same one. Basically, you have a Borderlands for each one of your servers, basically. So I'm on Blackgate, and we're facing Sanctum of Rawl and some other dudes right now. I can't remember. Let's just say Dragonbrand. It doesn't even matter, right? We fought Dragonbrand last week, and we kind of owned them. Just saying. Let's not talk about that. But okay, let's just say we're facing Sanctum of Rawl and Dragonbrand. There is actually an entire battleground for Blackgate Borderlands, basically, and that is the Blackgate server, and or the Blackgate battleground. And we basically have control of the top half and the middle castle in the Blackgate battleground when we get started. And it's the same for the Dragonbrand battleground. It's like they get control of the middle and the top, and then Sanctum of Rawl gets the middle and the top again. And if you're not one of these guys, you can enter this. You can enter any one of these at any time. If you're on your server, you're defending. If you're on an enemy server, you're attacking. Aside from these 2, there is the Eternal Battleground, and this is neutralized. You are put into one corner of the overall map, and then you are fighting everyone in equal standings. You know, the person who owns the middle castle is based on who's attacking it and who captured it first, pretty much. And you can retake it, you can lose it, you can win it again. It's all that stuff. But the Eternal Battleground is kind of like the evened out battleground, where it's just not like you're not really defending, you're not really attacking, you're kind of doing it all at the same time. And again, this is a reason why you play Guild Wars. A lot of the times, I try not even to log into WW, because once I log in there, once I get in the field, I don't know how long I'm going to spend there. Because it's like, oh, I'll just play for an hour, and then 4 hours pass by, and you're like, well, fuck. I was supposed to go do some important stuff. And that's the big problem with this game. That is probably the biggest flaw, is that time just kind of melds together. It's like you go in with a huge Zerg, you attack some stuff, all of a sudden you die and you're like, fuck those guys, I'm rezzing and I'm running the fuck back. Where's the commander? Where the hell is the commander? And that's all that you're thinking about. And it's epic. It's extremely well done. And I just can't say any more good things about it, to be honest. I really can't. So yeah, that's all there is to talk about when it comes to PvP in this game. I think we're going on to the overall outro and my final feelings on the game. Now we're on to the final thoughts, and here we're just going to go over what I overall think about the game, you know, how do I really feel about it, looking at it in a broad perspective. And I gotta just say that this is, in my opinion, one of the best MMOs out right now, if not the best in its own way. And what I mean by that is, I do consider World of Warcraft to be the best MMO out right now when it comes to subscribers and stuff. And people always go on about how WoW is losing subscribers and shit. Sure, you know, that's perfectly fine. But the thing is, WoW is still profitable. It's still going to be active in content and overall activity across the world in game, or at least server activity and stuff. If they lost even 1 million subscribers a year for the next 4 years, they would still be extremely profitable. So, I mean, I don't see when someone says WoW is dying. I get it, but I don't agree with it, basically, is what I'm trying to say. That being said, if you're not a person that likes WoW, you know, if you don't like WoW and you've tried MMOs but you never really got into any, Guild Wars might be the game that gets you into it. You know, this might be the one that changes you. Because this isn't exactly your traditional MMO. This is very much a take on an MMO that they've done very differently. Anything you can compare this to another game with, it's not exactly the same as, you know, and that's kind of what it's all about, is that this is a very alternative MMO. If you're not into the general MMOs and you want to be, if you want to be the hipster of MMOs, this is kind of the place you want to be honest. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I usually mean anything I say about hipsters is usually a bad thing, but this is one of those situations where it's just like, it really works for it. That being said, don't PvE in this game. Like I brought up in the PvE portion of this video, this isn't really for you PvEers. If you want to PvE, you still should, you know, most likely go to WoW or look somewhere else. This is not that game for you. But PvPers who are tired of playing World of Warcraft, for instance, who's kind of done the thing and been through the cycle there, this is something that's very interesting for you. If you are a new player that has not played anything, by the way, if you have not tried Guild Wars 2, I highly recommend it. I think you might enjoy this one quite a bit. If you are a returning player, I recommend you come back to the game, because as a player, I personally, when I first quit, or when I first stopped playing Guild Wars, there was a lot of problems with it, and I feel like they have addressed a lot of those. Aside from the Dungeon Finder, which I'm always going to keep bringing up until they fix it, aside from that, the game has been very well polished. All the problems and all the glitches and stuff that you might remember from the first month have been fixed at this point. So, I mean, it's an amazing game. I think it's one of the best games out right now. I'm very happy to play it. The games that are coming out in the future that I think might be able to hold a candle to this is like Elder Scrolls and maybe WildStar. Those are the only two that I see that can really be competition to Guild Wars, and I also World of Warcraft, but you know, competition to Guild Wars. And this is easily the second best MMO I've ever played, if not the best in its own way. If that makes sense. Hopefully that makes sense. Anyways, that's the end of the review. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. It was a lot of work basically making this review. I had to record this audio over and over again. So hopefully you guys actually appreciate all the work I had to put into this, because this was a tough one. This was a tough video. Debatably, this is my most difficult video I ever worked on this channel. So yeah, hopefully you guys like it. Anyways, that's about it. Please subscribe, rate, and comment, and Darkster out. Peace.